Thank you very much, Andy. Interesting insight as always. What do you make of it? I mean, that's always the question, isn't it? And it's down to personal interpretation when you're looking at data points that don't necessarily reflect the strategy that you've got in place at the moment. So anyway, without further ado, we're here to talk a little bit about brand advocacy and really how we can get much closer to our customers and some of the challenges that we might be facing in that. As we've seen new customers come online for the first time, which is where most of the growth has come from, we're not used to talking to them. Likewise, they're not used to listening to us. And increasingly, we're also seeing that a lot of those customers are purchasing for other people. We're in a period where we haven't been able to talk or see people a lot, visit them personally. So actually, we're gifting instead, or we're buying a lot of things from onward, pushing out to friends, relatives, etc. So how does that impact the way that we advertise, the way that we talk to our customers, and indeed how we perhaps curate some of our content? But before I get too carried away with myself, I'd like to introduce Mark. Mark, over to you, sir.
Hello, Andrew. How are you?
Very well, very well. A bit of sunshine helps.
It does. It does. Look, I'm delighted to be here. I'm the marketing director for Mention-Me, the leading referral platform, and we are ever innovating into an area we're calling referral engineering, which is to say growth acquisition, customer experience, retention, bigger baskets, engagement, all through advocacy, all through this kind of once unplanned, at other times viral, but now engineered and measurable, finding your best customers who are most willing on, NPS plus other measures to want to find you your new best customers. And what we're finding is that the customers that are referring and the customers that are referred to turn out to be your most valuable lifetime customers. So it's growth acquisition while you sleep, if you can get it right and understand the mechanics, the psychologies, the tweaks, the dials, etc.
When we were checking the audio visual before we started this call, making sure that everything worked properly, we're talking a little bit around this desensitization that online shoppers may be now experiencing towards brand messaging, advertising in different formats. How do you think that's going to translate itself into changes to the way brands might want to talk to customers? Indeed, how customers might even want to talk to each other as well.
It's really interesting. If you look at if you look at the numbers that Andy was presenting a few minutes ago, you can describe the charts and you can look at what's happened and you can make your summations, but it gets to right now and we're in new ocean. Like, there is no clear answer. It'll be, again, another year where it would be foolish just to go year-on-year comparisons are going to tell me everything I need to know. There's so many moving parts, as Andy said. Even when restrictions are lifted, will people want to experiment and flood back to the high street? Will people feel cautious and stay at home? The obvious and most likely answer is there will be a blend of all flavors, depending on who you are, how vulnerable you feel, how scared you are, where you are. I think what we have to do is, rather than try and guess based on the news and the context, I think there's a way of understanding, you said it, understanding your customer a little better and going sharper. Now, what I mean by that is, I talked to another colleague of mine just recently about this being the third era of e-commerce. If you look at e-commerce to start with, it was websites, it was a shop window, it was, we understand bricks and mortar, we've built an entire retail infrastructure and industry around people coming through the door. So websites are an extension of that. Then we got to a longer period of sophistication where everything was about personalization and automation and optimization and building the right stack and tracking everything and delivering data-driven ads on the back of that. Now, that used to be the sharpest, most modern and progressive way you could market as an e-commerce retailer. I wonder whether, and we spoke about this before, I wonder whether even if the logic is that with people spending more time online, you want to double down on your online ads presence, I wonder if now is the time to try something different. I wonder if it's actually, if people spend more time online, they become immune and almost blind to the constant barrage of pop-ups, of ads, of banners. I'm not saying that'll happen. I'm saying it's something you have to look at. And instead, the third era of e-commerce is less about depending on pure personalization, pure machine learning, pure programmatic advertising platforms to deliver your message, and more thinking about how people are feeling right now.
So actually, what we're talking about is almost humanizing some of those digital elements. We've been chasing that, the power that technology brings us in not second guessing what our customers might be doing or where the market growth is coming from. But actually what we're now looking for is some of that human touch, where we're starting to see some of our customers looking more to community, using social channels to find, for product discovery and brand discovery, and actually that element of brand ambassadorship. What we're now looking for is how can brands regain that human touch that they probably lost when big format stores first came out. When we were looking at the original local shop where the shopkeeper knew everyone by first name and knew their orders, we're effectively trying to recreate that in a digital environment.
I work for a tech company, and I've worked for tech companies for a number of years now. So I'm a big believer in what technology has been able to do for not just retail, but every industry, and will continue to do so. And we have to ride on the back of that. But you're right. Let's think about ourselves not as technologists, but as retailers. Now is the time when people are, your customer base could be segmented all over again if you looked at them right at the moment, across a range of emotions and confusion and all sorts of things going on in the world. As Andy was saying, there needs to be an element of getting back to Harry's hardware store in 1905, where Harry was holding the hammer back because he knew I was going to need it for a nail this weekend, and he knows me personally. That's what retail was all about in the first place. Now, I think what we're talking about, when you say humanizing and advocacy, and we've talked a little bit about community and collaboration before, you and I, there's a strong sense that, look, we were here to talk about life on the digital high street, the campaign that we've been running for a few months now with videos and blogs and insights from small and large retailers, all about how large high street retailers, while they're doing the necessary, grueling, brutal transformation jobs that they have to undergo now, whether that's about bricks and mortar property portfolios, whether it's about people, whether it's about skills, whether it's about capability, there's a lot to do, and it's not going to be very pleasant, and it needs to be done pretty quick. So life on the digital high street was, what can the large retailers learn from the small, agile, quick e-commerce online retailers in the meantime, that's quick, easy to test, easy to implement, and will bring you incremental revenue and new thinking in the meantime, like, incremental revenue within 30 days. We've got an ebook coming out next week talking to 4 or 5 of our small online retailers, telling large retailers tips on how to drive new revenue within 30 days while you're doing all the hard stuff. But actually what you and I are talking about points to another thing we're doing at the moment, was talking to large retailers about the changing nature of Black Friday.
Well, just before we finish, actually, Mark, because I know we're getting a little bit short of time. I know we've got a couple of questions that have come in about this. So the first is, what do you see the front line being between customer and company? Is it social? Is it phone? Is it email?
I think it's relationship, and I think that exists across all channels. I think you have to start with understanding and engagement before you pick your the tactics, and the channels can change depending on who you are, where your customers are, what you're trying to do. But it has to. I mean, all of those. Forgive me, Patrick, who asked a very, very good question. I feel like social, phone, and email, and all the rest. I think it starts with actually understanding who your customers are and what they're needing from you right now, and that's the job of marketing. Remember. And
I think also there's a role to be played through the combination or a hybrid of some of those more normal customer service channels, where actually we're starting to see video chat being used in store to provide context to the communication as well. And then just finally, because I know we're now out of time, but Gary's asked around about how the end of third-party cookies will affect the way that referral marketing works. Now, I must profess an interest here as being a DPO for a number of retail brands, and obviously we've got a bit of a mixed view on the impact that this might have. Personally, I think some of it is around the transparency around how we communicate with those people and what role technology can have in that. But Mark, what's your perspective?
Well, it doesn't affect referral marketing as much as you'd think, Gary, because our referral engineering platform uses first-party data, which means we're able to use that first-party data, by the way, in a number of ways that enhances the rest of your marketing channels. But for us, we are not, nobody is immune to this. Everybody needs to consider it. Everybody needs to work with it. And it is going to be a tectonic shift for e-commerce brands. For us, we are doing okay because our referral platform uses first-party data. And it's that first-party data that helps build the relationships that we're talking about, the advocacy, the championing, and the natural relationship that results in you doing right by your customers, and then your customers, you enabling your customers to do right by you with their friends and family.
I think probably a closing note, Mark, as well, is that there are a couple of the big tech players are obviously making a bit of a power grab at the moment around how cookies are being utilized and the availability of the information they produce to advertisers and publishers, etc. So,
well, it's not my expertise, Andrew, but I do know that if we are these moves have been gradually coming in, and I know they've been delayed, but they're coming in because people are more guarded about their data and how you use their data and their privacy, and also just how you market to them and how relevant that stuff is. If you're going to look at the world like that, and that's the scrutiny and pressure coming down on advertising, I'm glad to be in referral, where referral is based on genuine advocacy, authentic, I want to help my friends and family, which is where we were going with the Black Friday conversations we're having with our clients, where the shape and size of Black Friday has changed. It's got bigger, it's got deeper, it's got longer over a week. The nature of it's changing this year, which is, as you said, from the open, people want to help and buy for others and share joy and gifts. So it's less every man or woman for himself chasing the same deals and hoping stock doesn't run out. It's more, we've seen a huge rise in the last year and 2 years of Black Friday being about, I want to bring Black Friday deals to my customers as a retailer that help them share the discounts, help them share the bargains.
Well, I think, Mark, that is a perfect place for us to finish. So thank you very much for your time. I know we've got a couple of questions that are outstanding. We'll respond to those by typing answers to you. Andy.
Thank you.